The darkness beyond Wexer Prime grew heavier with each passing hour. The scouts had vanished again, retreating into the black like whispers. But the message was clear: something worse than pirates was coming. Something ancient, something silent, something waiting. The Pact of Flame Council gathered for the first emergency session since its founding. Leaders from multiple species stood around the circular table, but all eyes rested on Captain Riley. He didn't offer long speeches. We found one of our own. Left in the dark, he said. And he warned us before he went under. Whatever's coming, it's older than us, stronger than Herrick's, and it's already watching. Taylor stood beside him, her voice steady. Wexer Prime will not wait to be saved again. We'll fight, Monroe nodded. And Earth will stand with you. Plans began, not for retreat, but for readiness. The Atlas moved into high orbit, acting as command. And SHIELD, human engineers and Wexery builders worked side by side, reinforcing ground stations, expanding orbital weapons, training recruits who had once been children hiding in shelters. In a dusty hangar, Leo helped local pilots learn dogfighting. Drills, keep your engine below red and your nerves colder. We'll share tech secrets with alien mechanics. Converting scavenged parts into working shields. Nora led joint drills in the ruins of the West District, turning ruins into war schools. Meanwhile, the Vigilant returned to deep space. Riley led a small task force to scout the outer rim. They found more signals, old Earth probes covered in strange corrosion, broken satellites with missing memory cores, and then something worse. A mining station silent, floating between two asteroids, its crew gone, its hull covered in black webbing like metallic roots. This wasn't pirate work, Will said softly. Inside, they found a symbol carved into metal, not in any known language, but burning faintly with a reddish glow. Mark it, Riley said, and burn it. They returned to Wexer with a grim report. The enemy doesn't take supplies, Nora explained. They erase history. The council voted unanimously. Wexer Prime would become the central stronghold of the Pact. The fleet doubled its drills. New ships were built in orbit, not for exploration but for defense. Artificial moons were seeded with defense grids. Taylor gave a speech broadcast to all. Systems in the Pact, if you can hear this, stand with us. Not behind us, not beneath us, but with us. Earth broadcast the same message to former colonies and allies across the stars. Volunteers poured in. The first of the new defense fleet was named the Hal Trent, after the man in the cryopod whose warning changed everything. He had not awakened yet, but his name now meant defiance. Then came the final sign. The stars dimmed. An object passed between systems, not fast, but heavy. Its mass bent gravity around it. Its shape was not clear. It did not answer hails. It did not broadcast threats. But every ship it passed lost power for 60 seconds. They're scouting our light, Leo said, chilled. And testing our fear, Riley answered. As the object passed Wexer's edge, it paused, not stopped, but watched, and then it turned away. Riley stood before the main viewing platform, his voice broadcast across the fleet. We know you now. We know what you erased. We remember what you fear. Unity, hope, and fire. He turned to the fleet crews watching. We were born on a death world. We did not choose it, but we chose each other. We chose to protect what we love. You want silence? You'll get resistance. The signal went dark. Wexer Prime's sky lit up with new engines, new ships, and a promise. Deathworlders had come, and this time, they weren't leaving. The stars above Wexer Prime looked peaceful, but every soldier knew the truth. Peace was the lie that came before the next storm. Taylor stood on the wall of the outer defense tower, staring at the sky. Her armor was scratched, her hands calloused, yet her eyes were sharp. She had seen her city burn, watched friends die, and now she stood ready to face what was coming next. Behind her, drills echoed across the base, humans and aliens training together. Some still didn't speak the same language, but they learned each other's signals, each other's strengths, and the rhythm of survival. Captain Riley stepped beside her, carrying 2 cups of strong black coffee. He handed her one without speaking. She nodded thanks. You feel it too, he said after a moment. She nodded again. It's too quiet, even the pirates are gone. They're running from something, Riley said, and whatever scared them hasn't hit yet. In orbit, the human dreadnought Atlas stood like a mountain of steel and fire. Dozens of smaller ships circled it like birds around a fortress, and below them, new defense lines were forming. Laser turrets, shield towers, even minefields deep underground. Will and Leo were testing a new kind of sensor, one that could detect gravity shifts. They had built it from broken parts, spare Earth tech, and alien crystal wiring. I think this will work, Leo said, running the diagnostics, but it won't tell us what's out there, only that it's moving. Will grunted, tightening a bolt with a wrench. Sometimes that's enough to fire first. In another part of the city, Nora led a group of young recruits through a simulation chamber. The chamber used holograms and recorded footage from the last battle, showing how pirates had attacked and how humans had responded. One young Wexery girl raised her hand. Why didn't Earth wait for the Council's permission? Nora looked her in the eyes and answered, because waiting gets people killed. Earth doesn't ask permission to do the right thing. Up in orbit, a small drone scout ship returned with strange data. It had scanned a deep space zone 2 jumps away from Wexer and found nothing, literally nothing, not silence, not darkness, just absence, as if the space itself had been removed. When Riley saw the report, he leaned back slowly, his fingers tapping the edge of the table. That's not natural, he whispered. It's a test zone, a place to see how much they can take before we notice. Back on Earth, the response was immediate. 5 more ships were launched from deep orbital docks, including one called the Hammerlight, a vessel built for siege warfare. The Pact of Flame's new symbol, a burning torch surrounded by stars, was painted on every hull. Back on Wexer Prime, civilians were being moved into deep shelters, not out of panic, but preparation. The children practiced emergency drills with laughter and discipline, learning to move quickly, learning to trust their guardians. Taylor visited a school hidden inside the old mining tunnels. She bent down to speak to a boy drawing a picture on the floor with chalk. It showed humans and aliens standing on a wall, facing a giant shadow. What's that? She asked. The boy looked up. It's the thing in the stars, he said. But we're not scared, because we have the torch now. The words stayed with her. That night, the warning came. The gravity sensors lit up across all outposts, then went dead, one by one. Systems across the planet blinked off for 10 seconds, no more. When they returned, no one was dead. But every screen now displayed a single message, glowing in dark red. You speak of unity. We have erased unity before. We will erase it again, Riley stared at it without flinching. They're not machines, he muttered. There's something worse, something that believes. Across Wexer, people prepared without being told. Civilians packed medical kits, soldiers checked ammo, engineers locked systems into place. It wasn't panic, it was purpose, the kind humans brought to every storm they faced. As dawn rose over the shattered hills, a strange shadow moved across the sky. Not a ship, not a moon, just wrongness. It passed without landing, but the air felt colder after it left. In the central command room, Taylor stood before a live broadcast screen, her face bruised, armor scorched, but voice unshaken. This enemy thinks we will hide, she sighed. They think we'll surrender to fear, but this world stands with Earth. With fire in our hearts and steel in our bones, we do not kneel behind her. Riley added just one line. Let them come, he said. We're not the ones who should be afraid, and above them, the torches on each warship burned brighter, because the Deathworlders had sent more than help. They had sent a warning. No one fights alone anymore, not when Earth answers the call, not when the fleet has arrived. The skies above Wexer Prime no longer looked helpless. They looked alive. Dozens of new warships dotted the orbital field, sleek frigates, heavy cruisers, defense platforms lined with rotating cannons. From the ground, it seemed like a city of Steel had formed above them. Captain Riley walked the outer walls of the southern sector, watching workers and engineers haul crates of supplies and weld armor plating into the earth. A child waved at him from a rooftop, and he gave a small nod. In return, even in war, people still found a way to live beside him. Taylor studied the sky through binoculars. Reinforcements from Andira and Sarath systems will arrive within 2 days, she said. Over 20 ships pledged, most of them civilian retrofits. Armed. Good, Riley said. We'll need every single one, down in the Undercity. Will and Leo stood over the remains of another corrupted satellite. They had been studying debris from the Silent Zone satellites and probes stripped of identity. Memory wiped clean, cores burned from the inside. I don't think this is a weapon, Will said, frowning. I think it's a message. Leo tilted his head. A warning? Or a test, Will muttered. To see what we'll do when we lose the past. He pointed at the satellite's burned surface. Every system inside rewritten in a code we still can't trace. Elsewhere, Nora stood in front of 2 mixed battalions, human and Wexery Marines. Newly trained, tired, but focused, she walked slowly across the line, her armor chipped and worn, but her voice calm. We fight as one now, she said. You see humans next to you, aliens behind you, friends you didn't know last month. Those are your brothers and sisters now. You fall together or you rise together. No one cheered, but every eye stayed locked on her. At midnight, an alarm buzzed through Wexer's main command tower. It wasn't a full alert, no incoming fleet, no energy surge. It was a pulse, a quiet, measured ping from the edge of the system, soft enough to be a ghost. Riley leaned forward at the console. Reading the signal, it wasn't noise, it had rhythm, like a slow heartbeat. He pulled the file from storage and compared it to the audio they found in the derelict mining station. Match confirmed. Broadcast it, Riley ordered. Encrypted channels only. Council priority. Taylor joined him, eyes narrowing. They're not coming fast. They want us to feel them first. Let them, Riley said. We're not hiding anymore. By dawn, Wexer Prime skies were filled with drills, dogfights, defensive simulations, troop transport tests. The new carrier Horizon arrived with 12 long-range bombers and a mobile shield unit. Civilian freighters joined the orbit too, turned into gunships with rail-mounted cannons and armor plates welded over their engines. At the central square, a new monument was being built, not a statue, but a torch tower. It would burn blue light, powered by solar cores, visible from orbit. It stood for resistance. Taylor addressed the crowd. They took our friends, she said. They tried to take our hope, but they will never take our will. That night, Leo caught something unusual in the telemetry, an echo inside the gravity map, moving too slowly for any ship, but too steady for a natural body. He ran to Will, heart pounding. It's them, he said. Not fast, but deliberate. They're dragging something through subspace. We'll check the data, eyes wide. Not something, he whispered. A gate. The news hit command immediately. Rayleigh studied the visuals, faint shadows stretching in folded space, pulling a massive structure toward their edge of the stars. It's how they move, he said softly. They don't use gates like us. They build them. Pull them behind them like snakes shedding skin. He called a meeting that same hour. Our enemy doesn't rush, he said, facing leaders from 12 worlds now. They stretch the fear. They study our responses. They want to weaken us before they strike. He tapped the star map, showing multiple points where ghost signals had been detected. They're building paths across the galaxy. Silent roads where no one else can walk. We must cut them off before they finish. The room was quiet. Then Taylor stepped forward. Then we hit first, she said. We make them fear us. Nods followed, slow at first, then faster, the next day. Strike teams were prepared, fast units designed to sabotage alien structures in deep space. The mission had a name. Torchlight. Rayleigh would lead the first wave. He looked over the young soldiers, old veterans, human and alien alike. You're not just fighting for Wexer, he said. You're fighting for every world that's still quiet, still hoping someone will show up." He paused. "We are the someone now," as the ships left orbit, flying in tight formation across the stars. The people of Wexer Prime looked up and saw the torch tower burning bright. They didn't know what waited in the dark, but for the first time in memory, they didn't feel alone. The message was clear now. They were not facing pirates. This enemy didn't steal resources. It stole memory, stole identity, stole light. Captain Riley stood on the Vigilance Bridge as the stars around Wexer flickered again, just for a second. Just enough to make every pilot tighten their grip. "System holding," said Leo, double-checking the energy readouts. "But whatever's out there, it wants us to know it's close." The tension across the packed fleet was rising. Ships weren't just on alert, they were bracing. Every engineer, every gunner, every medic was training like it was the last week before war. Because maybe it was. Taylor walked the halls of the new orbital station, speaking with young recruits who had never seen real battle. Some were barely adults, fresh from mining colonies or tech stations. Some had never held weapons before the fleet arrived. But now they stood in formation, armor mismatched but hearts steady. Taylor looked at them and said, "You don't need to be perfect, just be present. When the time comes, be there for the one beside you." The signal came 2 days later, from deep space. A ship limped into the system, barely functional. Its name barely visible. Eleanor Gray. It had vanished months ago near the Tarsis line. Assumed lost in the storm, Riley and Nora boarded it personally, suited in sealed armor. The ship was empty. No bodies, no signs of life, only voices recorded. Voices. The crew's logs were scattered and glitched. Some laughed, others cried, some just whispered nonsense, like they were talking to something in the walls. The final message was short, the voice broken. "They don't need to kill us. They unmake us." Inside the ship's medbay, Riley found something burned into the wall with acid, not words. A map, lines, stars, systems. All of them crossed out, except one, Wexer Prime. "This is their next target." Nora said, "No," Riley replied, "it's their only target." The Vigilant returned to high orbit, and the Council gathered once more. This time, no one hesitated. No more warnings, no more messages to the Council of Worlds. This was now a war for existence. Construction on the Arc Ring began immediately, a massive defensive ring made of connected warships and modular weapons. It would stretch around Wexer's orbit, linking planetary defenses to orbital platforms, while directed engineers across 3 time zones, working nonstop. "This isn't a shield," he shouted over the noise of welding bots. "This is a sword. We wrap around ourselves, back on Earth." The homeworld activated its deep code emergency beacon. Dozens of hidden fleets buried in cold space began to stir. Lights blinked on in frozen stations. Ancient dreadnoughts hummed awake for the first time in centuries. Humanity wasn't just sending help now, they were sending history. Taylor sat with Riley in the underground command vault late that night. They shared silence for a while, watching the flickering simulation of the Arc Ring taking shape. "Do you think we'll survive?" she asked. Riley took a long breath. "Maybe not," he said, "but we'll be remembered." She smiled slightly. "You humans really are stubborn. We come from a place that tried to kill us every day," he replied. "We learned not to run from storms. We learned to build walls in the wind." Just then, a signal lit up on the holotable. One of the far-flung scout ships, an autonomous drone, had pinged something massive on approach. Not a ship, a fleet, dozens of dark signatures. Moving slowly through deep space, silent, unmarked, hidden behind light-bending fields. But they were coming. The countdown began. Riley rose and sent one message across every ship, every outpost, every planet under the Pact of Flame. "They are coming for our unity, our fire, and our voice," he said. "Let them find out that Deathworlders never fight alone." Across the fleet, captains prepared their crews, pilots sealed their helmets, civilians retreated into deep shelters, and in the center of it all, The torch tower on Wexer blazed high into the sky. Brighter than ever, the storm had arrived, and the flame was ready. The night before the storm, the stars above Wexer Prime were strangely still. No movement, no signals, no scouts returned. But the silence wasn't peace, it was a breath before the scream. Captain Riley stood on the upper deck of the Vigilant helmet. In hand, looking at the blue torch tower below, it had become a symbol now, seen from space. Copied on every Allied ship, painted on armor, stitched into uniforms. It meant one thing. This time they were ready. Taylor joined him, armored and quiet. Her people had changed, no longer farmers or merchants. They were soldiers now, not by choice, but by fire. We've turned a world into a fortress, she said. Now let's hope it holds. It won't, Riley replied calmly. Not without pain. The alarm blared minutes later. Not a drill, not a test. Sensors lit up like fire across every station. A wave of energy pulsed through the edge of the system. Gravity distortion. Black light interference. Then objects, hundreds, no signals, no flags, no heat trails, just movement. Like a fleet of shadows riding the dark between stars from the Atlas. Admiral Monroe gave the order. All hands to stations, red alert, engage defensive formation. All pack ships prepare to intercept. The arc ring hummed alive. Energy surged through its linked platforms. Shield fields spread outward like a glowing wall. Turrets locked into position. Orbital guns swiveled toward the dark zone. In the skies, squadrons of fighters launched, human and alien alike. Their engines lighting up the void like sparks in coal. Riley stepped into the Vigilance command chair, Nora beside him. Leo already powering up the weapons grid. Target range? 60 seconds to contact, Leo said, his voice tight. Hold fire, Riley said. Let them show themselves first. Down on the surface, Wexery families huddled inside shelters. Some prayed to old gods. Others held pictures of lost loved ones. Children wore helmets too big for them, pretending to be soldiers. They weren't afraid, they were ready. The enemy came like a wave, dark ships, shaped like blades or bones, gliding silently. They didn't fire first, didn't speak. They just moved, slowly and steadily, toward Wexer Prime. Then, one of them stopped. It cracked open like a blooming flower, and from it, hundreds of smaller pods launched toward the planet. Missiles? No, troop pods. Riley didn't wait. Fire, he said. The Vigilant opened up. Its forward cannons roaring to life, beams of energy tearing through the pods. Other packed ships followed. A sky-wide storm of lasers and railgun fire met the enemy wave head-on. Pods exploded like glass, but some made it through on the ground. Squads were already moving. Nora led a human-alien unit to intercept one of the crash sites. Inside, they found twisted creatures, dark, oily figures that didn't bleed but cracked. Like stone when hit, they didn't scream, they didn't speak, they just fought. Nora's team held their line, but barely. Will arrived with backup just in time. Hurling grenades made from mining charges, blowing 3 of the things apart. They're not alive, Will muttered, wiping black dust from his face. They're grown for war. Like weapons, more waves came. The Atlas took heavy fire, its forward shields buckling under pressure. But it didn't break. Instead, it launched its own surprise stealth drones with plasma cores, flying deep into enemy lines and detonating like stars. Meanwhile, one enemy ship tried to break past the arc ring. It was too fast for most guns, but not for the Hal Trent. The new destroyer fired its rail lance at full charge, piercing the dark ship's hull and sending it tumbling into a nearby moon. The crews on Wexer cheered. Above the noise, Riley spoke again, broadcasting to the entire packed fleet. They thought we'd break, that we'd scatter, he said. But they forgot who they were dealing with. He stood in full armor, lit by the red lights of his command deck. We come from storms. We were raised in fire. We carry our dead in our hearts, and our courage in our hands. He paused, letting silence follow his words. And to those who brought this darkness, this is your only warning. Leave now or be erased. On the enemy side, more pods launched, but this time, so did Earth's newest weapon. A ship the size of a city, hidden until now, decloaked behind Wexer's shadow. Its name was simple. Torchbearer. It fired once, and the enemy fleet blinked, then shattered. The war was far from over. But the first battle had a victor, and Wexer Prime still burned with blue fire. Not from destruction, but from unity. The moment the dark object left Wexer's edge, the galaxy felt different. Every species in the pact reported its communications. Stuttering, data cores losing recent memory, lights dimming for a few seconds in sealed bunkers. Even planets not yet attacked felt it. The enemy didn't just bring war, it brought silence. Not the kind found in peace, but the kind found in tombs. Captain Riley stood before a map of the system inside the Atlas's war room, red lights flashing. Across dozens of regions, more unknown signals had appeared, each one trailing energy signatures that didn't match any known physics. Taylor stepped in, her face pale but calm. "We just lost contact with Station 7 on the outer ring," she said. "No distress call, no damage alert, just..." "Nothing." Riley didn't blink. "They're pulling the net tighter." Nora slammed her fist against the console. "They're trying to break us before they even start the real battle." And they were right. The enemy didn't rush. They circled, watched, and unmade what they touched. On Wexer's surface, engineers worked without sleep to finish new planetary defense zones. Will oversaw a massive shield generator installation at the North Pole. His hands burned and clothes soaked in oil. 2 hours max, he told the foreman. "Or they'll land here before we even get to charge it." Meanwhile, Leo flew Scout. Runs in the upper atmosphere, dodging strange turbulence winds not caused by nature, but by gravitational pressure from the massive shadow above the system. "I don't know how big it is," Leo said over the comms, "but it's bending the sky. It's like a mountain in orbit." And yet, the pack didn't retreat, they accelerated. More fleets arrived from allied worlds, warships shaped like wings, claws, and glowing stones joined Earth's metal giants. Fighters danced between them, small, but fast, piloted by those with nothing left to lose. And some who had everything to protect. Children were trained in first aid. Refugees taught to repair ships. Even old veterans returned to duty with shaky hands, but sharp minds. Wexer Prime had become the beating heart of something rare. True unity. A planet once forgotten had become the shield of the stars. Riley stood before the growing crowd in the Capitol Square. Flame torches lighting the stage behind him. He didn't speak like a soldier now. He spoke like a man who'd buried friends, who'd seen hope flicker in broken places. "They are not just here to kill us," he said. "They are here to erase what we are, to turn memory into ash and names into wind." He looked out over humans and aliens alike, their faces scarred, their armor dented, but their eyes alive. "But we are more than bodies," he said, voice rising. "We are stories. We are the hands that pull others from fire. We are the voice that says, 'You're not alone.'" Cheers followed, not loud, but firm, solid. Taylor joined him on stage. "This is no longer about saving Wexer," she said. "This is about telling the galaxy, we don't kneel. Not now, not ever." Then it began. A black ship appeared over the moon's far side. It didn't enter with speed, it simply was. One moment the stars were there. The next, they were gone. The ship didn't fire. It just hovered, watching, waiting, and then everything stopped. For 10 seconds, no systems responded, no screens lit up, no engines worked. Even hearts seemed to beat slower. When power returned, one message blinked across every screen, every helmet visor, every drone camera. "We are the silence that follows memory. You will forget yourselves and thank us for it." A chill passed through every fleet, every soldier, every captain, but no one ran. Riley read the message twice, then looked up at the sky and whispered, "No." He walked to the nearest transmission unit and pressed broadcast. "You want silence?" he said. "Come earn it." The Torchbearer, Earth's largest ship, rose from behind Wexer's shadow like a second sun. its cannons charged, its hull glowing with defiance. All across the fleet, ships followed, engines hot, weapons armed. No one knew if they would survive, but they knew what they stood for. That night, the stars flickered again, but this time, so did the torches. Smoke curled above the cities of Wexer Prime, but there was no surrender in the air. Instead, there was something else: hope. The enemy had pulled back, their strange ships retreating into the shadows beyond the system. The battlefield still burned, but the torches still stood. Every pack soldier still alive stood taller that day. Captain Riley stood outside the Vigilant, boots in dust, armor cracked, eyes locked on the skies. "They didn't expect us to hit back," he said. Taylor stood beside him, holding a datapad. Covered in reports, casualties, damage, missing units. "We lost so much," she whispered. "But we're still here. That's why they ran," Riley replied. "They thought they could scare us into silence. But all they did was wake us up." Across the mountains, repair crews worked around the clock, building fresh defense lines, even as smoke still drifted from old craters. Kids painted blue flames on walls, copying the torch symbol from their parents. Armor plates, in orbit. The fleet had changed. The torchbearer was damaged but still hovering like a guardian. The Hal Trent floated nearby, its commander fully awake and leading recovery teams into ruined satellites. His voice now led every open channel. Calm and unshaking. "We are still thinking," he told them, "still remembering." That single phrase became a new rallying cry. Back on the Arc Ring, Nora coordinated new supply drops with Will and Leo. The three worked like they hadn't slept, but none would stop until every ally was accounted for. "I've got missing engineers in Sector 9, Will shouted, already scanning for heat signatures. Leo answered from the flight deck. "I'm going down," Nora grabbed her. "Comes. If you see movement, don't wait, extract first, report later," Will smirked. "Since when do we play safe?" "Since we earned the right to," she said, in the inner sanctum of Wexer's council. Leaders from 9 species sat around a round table for the first time. No translators, no delays. They spoke in common tongue because now they had a common. 'Cause Taylor spoke first. "We don't know how long the enemy will stay away," she said. "But we've cracked their illusion. They bleed. They can lose." A Tremari general thumped his claw on the table. "Then we push them from every system." An old human diplomat shook his head. "We don't need war. We need proof to the galaxy that they can be stopped." Riley entered then, still in half-burned armor, and laid a single shard of enemy metal on the table. It shimmered with faint blue light. "Proof," he said. "This is part of the memory core they use: recorded thought, history, identity." Taylor reached out and touched it. A sharp flash passed through her fingers, and suddenly images, a ship drifting, a crew whispering names they couldn't remember, and then darkness. She gasped and let go. "They consume what makes us." "US," Riley nodded. "But that means something survived inside this fragment. That means they're not just shadows. They're corrupted archives. They were something else once. That changed everything. This wasn't just war. This was a rescue mission, and maybe even a cure on the Torchbearer." Engineers worked day and night on a new device, a memory pulse weapon, designed to disrupt the enemy's field. Nora called it the Echo, built from both Earth tech and fragments of the enemy's own memory shell. "We fight thought with thought," she told the engineers. "We hit them with the one thing they can't handle: truth." The next wave was expected within days. No one rested, but no one panicked either. Children drew stars again. Families cooked hot food in shelters, soldiers trained by the torchlight, without shouting, without fear, on the edge of the system. Leo flew out farther than ever before, testing the new scanning array. He picked up weak signals, echoes of enemy movement, but also something else: survivors. Ships that had gone missing in other systems, now drifting free. Minds returning. Slowly, remembering who they were. Some had been lost for years. He radioed in, voice shaking. "I've found them. They're waking up. Cheers broke across the command network. They hadn't just defended a planet, they had broken a chain. They had stolen something back from the dark that night. As Wexer's skies cleared for the first time in weeks, a single torch was carried to the highest peak and lit by hand, not with technology, but with flame. Riley, Taylor, Nora, Will, and Leo stood beneath it, watching it flicker in the cold air. "It's not over," Nora said. "No," Riley agreed. "But it's changing, and we made that happen." From far across the stars, the silence still watched, but now it watched something it hadn't seen in a long time, a galaxy united and remembering. The war didn't end with an explosion, it ended with a whisper. And the whisper was this: "We remember." Months passed since the enemy's last attack. Wexer Prime still showed scars, burned cities, twisted metal, empty homes, but life had returned. Green had started growing through cracked stone. Children's laughter echoed in the streets again. Captain Riley stood in front of a new monument at Capitol Square. A flame burned at its center, tall and steady. Around it were names not of the famous, but of the forgotten. Civilians, farmers, engineers, soldiers who had fallen during the first strike. He ran a hand over one name, Ailey, age 9. She had delivered water to soldiers before the second wave and never made it back to her shelter. She kept running, someone once said, even when the sky was falling. Taylor joined him, holding a folded blue flag in her arms. The flag of the Pact of Flame, now accepted across 7 systems. She placed it beneath the flame. "She deserves to fly here," she said softly. Riley nodded. "They all do." In orbit, the torchbearer had become more than a warship. It was now a station, a school, a hospital, a place where species met to plan, train, and rebuild. The walls still had blast marks, but the halls were filled with life. Nora led the new security division, training recruits from all corners of the galaxy, not just how to shoot, but how to protect, how to stand firm, how to build courage even when hope feels gone. Will and Leo had redesigned the Echo device. It was now a signal tower, sending pulses of memory across space, waking lost minds, recovering shattered ships, pulling people back from the dark. Every time one came home, a new torch was lit on Wexer. Taylor's daughter now helped light them. Her tiny hands shook the first time, but she smiled when the blue light rose. "They're not gone," she whispered. "They're just coming home slowly." The council grew, new voices from systems Earth had never known before. They didn't ask for power. They asked to help, to give, to protect others like them. They called this new alliance not a government, but a promise that no world would face the silence alone ever again. Riley was offered a title, Fleet Commander, Supreme General, even Hero of Flame. He turned all of them down. "I'm a captain," he said. "That's always been enough." Instead, he helped plant trees where old buildings had fallen. He taught students about the first days of the war, about how one ship had answered a call that others ignored. "They didn't think we'd come," he said during a school visit. "They thought Earth would watch from the edge like everyone else." Boy raised his hand. "Why did you help, sir?" "You could have stayed safe." Riley knelt and looked the boy in the eyes. "Because no one helped us once," he said. "We swore that day, never again." Across the galaxy, torches rose in strange places, on asteroid farms, on water worlds, even in old council buildings now empty and quiet. Each one told a story. Each one sent a signal. "We are still here, we still remember, and we will stand together." The silence never came back, not fully. Small echoes were still found in dead systems. Ships still lost beyond stars. But they weren't feared anymore. They were hunted, by fleets marked with flame, by voices shouting names, by children who had grown up under blue light and never forgotten what it meant. One day, a new recruit from a far system stood before Nora at the Torchbearers' training grounds. She saluted nervously, her armor too big and her eyes full of questions. "Why do we carry the torch?" she asked. Nora smiled and pointed to the skies above. "Because there's always someone in the dark, waiting for the light. And far away, somewhere beyond mapped stars, something stirred. It didn't rise in hate this time. It didn't move. In silence, it simply watched and waited, because even the darkness had begun to remember. Rayleigh's final words, written on a plaque below the great torch, were simple. We came with nothing but fire. We leave behind light.